and welcome back to another video, and this time around we're going to be talking about the Swedish death metal legends Opeth. I've been enjoying these guys for a while now, but I think it's finally time to go through their entire discography. I've always enjoyed this aesthetic that they have. Whenever I think of Opeth, I always think of the medieval era or some Mozart type shit. They just have a unique look and I really dig it. Well, I don't want to waste any more of your time, so let's just get on to the first album, Orchid. Talk about an amazing debut. They immediately knew what they were going for. An aggressive, but also beautiful sound. The album starts off with "In Miss You Was Standing," and it may just be me, but it just reminded me of Sinbad for some reason, or just a pirate-like sound in general. The second track and Beyond have this ambient, yet upbeat sound. Silhouette straight up sounding like a classical song Mozart would write. On 4th of October we get a taste of Michael's beautiful soft vocals. And on The Apostle's Triumph it opens up with an Assassin's Creed 2 like sound, which very quickly transitions into an Arabic like rhythm, which then fades away into silence, and then immediately picks right back up with the aggression. We even have an unexpected violin solo that I really enjoyed. And as if this album couldn't surprise me even more, the final track is just straight up a black metal song. I'm not entirely sure that was the intention, but that's what it felt like to me. They were really experimenting with a bunch of styles on this album, and I really enjoyed it. Incredible start for the band, and I can only imagine what the next album will sound like. Morning Rise. We are at 2 for 2 because this is another fantastic album. As if Orchid didn't impress me enough, you got this album with that fall theme I think of whenever I listen to Opeth. It still has that aggression while having gorgeous acoustics sprinkled throughout the album. It even has a 20-minute long track, which I will admit had me worried for a bit, because usually whenever I see a track with that type of length, the song disappoints me most of the time because one half of the song will actually have music, while the other half will just have deafening silence or boring repetitive instrumentals. But I'm glad Opeth proved me wrong because they utilize every single second on this track, and it may be one of my favorite songs from them. And once that song is over, they hit you with the track To Bid You Farewell, which is such a pretty song. Most of the song consists of these amazing acoustics, then hits you with that good old aggression out of nowhere, and the cherry on top is Michael's angelic soft vocals. And just like the last album, this album also ends with a song that sounds like it was recorded inside of the bunker from the recent Amnesia, but I like that song, so I was also gonna like this song as well. This album was freaking great. It feels like they took Orchid and made it even better. I really hope the next album follows the same trend, but we'll see. My Arms, Your Hearse. I don't have too much to say about this album, but I still thought it was really great. I really liked how most of the songs transitioned into each other. It made it for a really great listen. Even though I don't think this album is as good as the first two albums, I still think it's a great album. Still Life. And here we finally are at one of their best albums. Still Life is so good, man. This has possibly the band's best opening track, period. How it starts off calming yet ominous, then punches you in the crotch with its aggressive nature, but then it goes back to its calming fall season sound from the start of the song. But before the song ends, it hits you one last time with that good aggression that I love. Then the album moves on to God's Lament, which does what The More did, but shorter. Then Benighted with another pretty acoustic song. Moonlapse Vertigo is super catchy and is probably the second best song on the album. This album is just masterful. It has an excellent groovy sound and feels like I was just teleported into the world of The Witcher. Easily one of their best albums, and one of two I own on vinyl. Blackwater Park. Another fantastic album, and this one kicks off with a gothic sound. Leper Affinity is an amazing track that shows off the gothic style this album goes for. Then we move on to Bleak, which has a very groovy rhythm. And Harvest is my favorite song on the album. This whole album is amazing and ends off with the fantastic title track. It combines all the elements on this album and culminates it into this fantastic stew of greatness. This album is adored by fans, and there's a reason why. Definitely up there is one of my favorite albums from them. Deliverance. Deliverance is the first of a two-parter. It's not as good as the last two albums, but it's still a great album. This is probably one of the most aggressive albums from the band. It definitely has its moments, especially the title track. That song is freaking great. Not one of my favorites from the band, but it's still really good. Damnation. Now we're at the second part of this duology of albums. While Deliverance is aggressive and angry, Damnation is calm and soothing because it's all acoustics. This is straight up one of my favorite albums. The opening track is not only one of the best songs from the band, but it's also one of my all-time favorite songs. This is possibly one of the most beautiful albums I've had the pleasure to listen to, and is up up there as one of my favorites, Ghost Reveries. The album starts off with another one of their best openers, if not one of their best songs. This whole album just has this gothic sound that makes me feel like I was in the world of Castlevania, and Atonement being the track that solidifies that feeling. Every song has a groovy, jazzy style, and it's amazing. Without a shadow of a doubt, this is definitely one of their best albums, and is another one I have on vinyl. Watershed. From Still Life to Ghost Reveries, I've already listened to those albums before, so now we're right back into unfamiliar territory. And unsurprisingly, it's another great album. I really like the soothing opening track. It's nice and calming before it hits you with the absolutely brutal second track. This whole album feels like a sequel or an extension to Ghost Reveries, while the gorgeous final track reminds me of something that would be on Damnation. It's a very nice and pleasant, but also brutal album. I'm not entirely sure if I like this more than Ghost Reveries, but it's probably up there neck to neck with it. Heritage. The next few albums are when Opeth decided to lean more into rock instead of metal. They wanted to switch things up, and it all started with this album. This is a very divisive time period for fans. You either despise or don't mind this era. For now, I don't really mind it. I actually quite enjoyed this album. I actually didn't mind that they threw out all the aggression from the past albums. Since I was already a big fan of Damnation, I felt like I was gonna find some enjoyment out of these albums. It's not as good as the past albums, but I feel like it's decent on its own. We still got 3 more of these before we move on to the most recent album, Pale Communion. We are at 2 for 2 for this one because this one also sounds pretty good. I already knew I was gonna like this one with the heavily keyboard track. That opening was fucking grooving, man. I really liked it. This whole album was just filled with a bunch of groove. The album felt kinda Pink Floyd-ish. At least that's what I got from it. It's amazing how there really hasn't been a dud so far. It just shows the kind of talent that is behind this band, being able to pump out so many albums without one feeling like it's objectively bad. The talent behind this band cannot be underestimated, but we still have 3 more albums to go, so we'll see. Sorceress. This album has an incredible start with the first few tracks. They were very heavy tracks, despite this being the era where Opeth went for a more rock sound. I just wish that carried on through the whole album. Yeah, I feel this may be their weakest album. Despite me saying that, it's still not a bad album. It's still pretty good. But since this is Opeth we're talking about, it's just okay. In Cauda Venenum. And here we are with the last album from the rock era. I definitely butchered the title for this album, but yeah, this is yet another pretty good album. It has a really good groove and funk to it. There isn't too much I could say about this album, but I feel it's like a second favorite out of all these rock albums. But with this one out of the way, let's finally move on to the most recent album, The Last Will and Testament. This album came out in November of last year, and brings back an element that fans have been asking for a long time, and that's Michael's harsh vocals. Immediately on the first track, he does his old school growls, and it's just good to hear it again. I really like how each song goes for a slightly different style change. It gives the album a little bit of variety. Is it my favorite album? No, but it's a pretty good album. And a great return to form. And finally, we are done with their catalog. This sure has taken me a while to get through. But yeah, in conclusion, Opeth is one of the most marvelous and consistent sounding bands I've ever heard. I just can't believe how good they still sound with how long they've been around. Well, it's time to rank it from least to most favorite. Sorceress, Heritage, In Cork of Virginia, Pale Communion, The Last Will and Testament, Deliverance, Your Arms, Your Hearse, Orchid, Morning Rise, Ghost Reveries, Watershed, Damnation, Blackwater Park, and Still Life. You have no idea how hard it was to rank the last 3. I always go back and forth on those 3 on which one's my favorite. Opeth is a fantastic band and they are a hard recommendation for me. Next video is going to be about Behemoth. Now with this video finally over, you all can skedaddle now.